o'clock, and the Cowboys advance to the Super Bowl. They'll face the Buffalo Bills, who also came back from being way down. They did it this year. Did Buffalo. Dallas, well, they've achieved remarkable things.
And our congratulations to both teams, to the Cowboys for winning the championship here, for the Buffalo Bills for winning the AFC Championship.
Trophy presentation.
Jimmy Johnson is now letting himself have a relaxation and a smile.
Well deserved.
He said he wanted playmakers when he came in. He didn't have any speed. He said, I want playmakers. I don't want slugs. He has playmakers.
Once again, the final score here at Candlestick Park was Dallas 30, San Francisco 20. Stay tuned for the NFL Today postgame show. For the presentation of the George Halas Trophy and winning locker room interviews, the postgame show will be followed by 60 Minutes. You're watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.
NFC Championship Game edition of the NFL Today post-game show is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
49er fans emptying out of Candlestick Park, and this is a live shot of the Dallas Cowboy locker room. Head coach Jimmy Johnson handing out congratulations. He said he'd get his guys to the Super Bowl in 5 years. He's a year ahead of schedule. The Cowboys with a 30-20 victory today over the San Francisco 49ers. We want to remind you that coming up tonight here on CBS, be sure to stay tuned for 60 Minutes with an update on the Iraq situation. That is next, except in the Mountain and Pacific time zones, where it will be seen at its regularly scheduled time. Then it's Murder, She Wrote, followed by the CBS Sunday movie, The Switch, starring Craig T. Nelson. That is coming up tonight on CBS. Welcome back to San Francisco, everyone, and to the NFL Today postgame show. Greg Gumbel along with Terry Bradshaw. So it is the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Unexpected on your part?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to really understand the magnitude of this victory for the Cowboys to come out here and beat the 49ers, an experienced football team in playoff situations, a team that expected, and a team that's entire seasons are measured strictly upon how many championships they win. So today you'd have to look and say this has been a failure.
I don't mean to put a damper on it, but no. But you understand. We do have one game left to play. Hey, fantastic. Every single one of you. I mean, I'm not just talking about these last 60 minutes. I'm talking about the quarterback schools, the mini camp, the off-season, the training camp, down in Austin when it was hot and you were tired, the whole bit. And everybody, you did one hell of a job. And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys indeed? The Dallas Cowboys will be presented with the George S. Halas Trophy as champions of the NFC when we come back to Candlestick in just a moment.
How's that?
Great! I like these the best.
First time since the 1978 season. And once again, a reminder, coming up next, the CBS News Magazine 60 Minutes. Tonight, an update on the Iraq situation, and when 1 out of 10 South Carolina legislators are convicted of bribery, that's a story for 60 Minutes. How did they get caught? Find out tonight. 60 Minutes is coming up next, except in the Pacific and Mountain time zones, where it'll be seen at its regularly scheduled time. Let's go to Leslie Visser now. Leslie.
Greg, they call it an orderly transition of power, and it didn't take place in Washington, but right here in San Francisco, where the torch has been passed to the men in silver and blue, among them Cowboy owner Jerry Jones and head coach Jimmy Johnson. To present the NFC Championship Trophy, let's welcome Neil Austrian, the president of the NFL. Neil.
Yep. Jerry, Jimmy, and the entire Cowboy organization, on behalf of the National Football League, it's really my great pleasure to present to you the George Halas Trophy for winning the NFC Conference Championship. You guys have done a heck of a job in building an organization from the time you took it over, and all I can say is, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? I want to thank every Dallas Cowboy fan there is. You deserve this football team. I'm just proud to be a part of the future of it. I can't thank Jimmy enough for all the work and the sacrifice. He's given everything he's got for us to be a winner.
Jerry, you told me in November that if you were going to the Super Bowl, you were going to extend an invitation to your friend from Arkansas, President Bill Clinton. Is that offer still good?
Well, I'd like to invite him to the Super Bowl. He's pretty busy this week, I understand, but I'm sure proud of it.
That he is. Congratulations to you, Jimmy. 54 draft choices, 45 trades later. You're on your way to the Super Bowl. What was key today?
Well, the key was just everybody in this room, everybody in the organization. Jerry talked about how hard we worked. It's how hard he worked, too. Yeah, it was a total commitment of the total organization. Everybody worked so hard. And that's what I told them after we came in here. The work they did in the off season, the quarterback schools, the mini camps, the training camp, on and on. It was total commitment to get to be the very best, and we're one game away.
Congratulations to you. 2 weeks to go. Back to you, Greg.
All right, Leslie, 30-20 the final score, and we'll be back with more on the NFL Today post-game show from Candlestick Park in just a moment. Come back to San Francisco. We remind you that 60 Minutes is coming up next, and we will have an update for you on the situation in Iraq. Here, the Dallas Cowboys have advanced to the Super Bowl with a 30-20 victory over the 49ers, who finished 15-3 on the year. Pat O'Brien is with Coach George Seifert. Pat?
And the interview no coach really wants to do. Congratulations on a great season, but you lost today. What happened?
Well, I just think Dallas played a heck of a ball game, particularly the second half of the game. I thought they executed their offense especially well. We couldn't really, it seemed like we couldn't make third down plays, or a drive. There was a drive or two that they would continually make the third down play on us, and we weren't able to stop them. And really, they got too much of a cushion for us to catch up on.
A lot of respect for Emmitt Smith today as well.
Emmitt Smith, their whole team. I'm really their offensive line, their quarterbacking, I thought, and the play calling was particularly special. They're certainly a championship caliber team, and they should feel certainly proud of what they did.
I'm just curious, what do you say to your team now in a situation like this? You were just talking to them.
Yeah, well, I think the tough thing is you get to this point. It's so very difficult to get to this point, and then when you do, you lose the ball game. I think everybody just has to remind themselves that as long as you're in this business, you put yourself in that type of situation. Sometimes it's not always going to turn out well, and you just have to face up to it and be ready to come back again next time you have a chance.
Thanks for stopping by. See you next season. Thank you, Coach. Back to Leslie Visser in the Dallas Cowboy locker room. Leslie?
Pat, the Dallas Cowboys have won an all-expenses-paid trip to Pasadena, and these are two of the reasons why, offensively and defensively. First, Troy, congratulations to you. What was key today, and how about the game breaker to Alvin Harper?
Well, I think the big thing for us today was we were able to convert on third downs. Early on in the first half, we struggled a little bit. We were able to come out in the second half, and when we got opportunities, for the most part, we were able to take advantage of them, and that was converting the third downs.
Best of luck to you. And Ken, the defense isn't going to the Pro Bowl, but they are going to the Super Bowl. What about your interception?
Definitely, it was a big play for us. So we've been making turnovers all day. It was important for us to keep pumping it to the offense, let them put it in. It's also important for us to stop all their playmakers. Young and Rice and Taylor, they're great players, and we did a good job of containing them, and Young didn't run off on us.
Well, best of luck to you in 2 weeks. Back to you, Greg.
All right, Leslie, the Dallas Cowboys, all-time leaders in playoff games and playoff victories. A timeout here, and then more from Candlestick Park in just a moment. In Candlestick Park, the Dallas Cowboys winners over the 49ers. 60 Minutes coming up next, except in the Mountain and Pacific time zones. For a final thought, let's go back upstairs to Pat Summerall and John Madden. Gentlemen.
Well, you know, John, you think back to the middle of this year, and you and I were talking, and we said, who's the best team so far we've seen? And we both agreed at that time San Francisco was one and Dallas was the other, and that's the way it wound up. That's rare.
You know, I think that was a great thing about this game, is that you could see these two teams all year, that they were the best teams. They really hadn't played each other. The only way they were going to play each other was in a championship game. And the thing that I liked about it is weather was a part of it. The elements were part. The elements were here today, but the game wasn't lost or won because of the elements. And I think that George Toma and his staff did a great job with this football field. Then the Dallas Cowboys were able to go out there, especially in the second half, take control of the game and win the championship.
John, our last game, we've been together 12 years. Each year seems to get better. this one, I think, is on top. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and it's always a joy. I mean, you know, being with you and with these games, and I'll tell you, it doesn't get better than this.
That's so true. Back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, Pat and John, thanks very much. And we wrap up another season here, too. What are your thoughts on this game? This game was tied at 10-10 at halftime.
Yeah, you know, I think you saw the emergence of a young football team that became a very veteran football team in the second half today. I think when the Cowboys came in at halftime, Greg, they looked at themselves and said, hey, we're 10-10 with these guys. We can play with them. We're not dead. We're alive. In the second half, they elevated their play. Sets up a great Super Bowl. Buffalo with Thurman Thomas, a running back, Smith, the quarterbacks, Kelly and Aikman, #1 defense. And I think a key point today that George Seifert made, that third down conversions put his team out of the Super Bowl. Well, you look at the Cowboys, and their defense is the very best in the league at stopping teams on third down. Great matchup, explosive offense, should be a dandy.
It should indeed. Dallas and Buffalo in the Super Bowl, the Cowboys by virtue of their 30-20 victory here in San Francisco this afternoon. And that wraps up the NFL season for us here on CBS. We thank you for joining us. For Pat and Leslie and Terry and for all of us here at CBS Sports, I'm Greg Gumbel. 60 Minutes is coming up next on CBS.
Just what I do that. When you look for champions.
This is one, and look at the reversal. It was the two winning teams from today who lost on that New Year's Day of 1967. The matchup for Super Bowl XXVII 2 weeks from today in Pasadena. The Bills, the only team the AFC has had represent them in the 90s, just the second to make 3 straight trips. No AFC team has won the Big Bowl since the Raiders in '84. It's also the only wild card team ever to win the
last 3 years. If Buffalo's going to do it, they got to do it now. Thanks for watching SportsCenter Primetime. Coming up next, I'm Jack Edwards.
I'm Gary Miller. All the thoughts of our primetime gang on what happened today and heading to Pasadena coming up next.